Hey guys, welcome back to Mediocre Hobbies, and in today's video you are going to be having a closer look at the Lords of the Maelstrom battle box, which Games Workshop very kindly sent me out. This is obviously an army box for the new Red Corsairs faction from Warhammer 40,000. I don't mean Red Corsairs are new, I just mean they're finally getting their own range of miniatures. We're getting a new updated version of Huron Blackheart, some bespoke units and upgrade sprue, and a whole host of other bits and pieces inside this box set, which I'm going to talk about in today's video. Whilst I'm doing it, I'm also going to be painting up the Reaver-Captain and having a look at that awesome kit. I'm very much in love with these new sculpts for Chaos Space Marines, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as well in the video. Before I get into it though, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone out there that supports the channel in all the myriad of ways it is possible to support. Whether you guys just like watching the videos, whether you give the videos likes, you comment, you subscribe, those things cost you nothing, but they make a huge impact on how many people see these videos and how quickly the channel grows. So please do like and subscribe. Please do that. If you want to help support the channel even further, there is of course our Patreon linked down below, and there's a whole host of reasons to get involved with that. There's monthly giveaways, which is pretty cool. We give away some pretty cool hobby every single month to someone who has signed up to the Patreon. We also give extra videos every single week. We do podcast episodes. There's a private Discord server. We do monthly showcases and painting competitions and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So it's a pretty nice place to be involved in. So check that out. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and have a look at these awesome Red Corsairs. Okay, so this is the Reaver-Captain, and he is an absolutely stellar miniature. I am one of those people that tends to like most, if not all, Space Marine sculpts, and I can kind of pick them apart in my brain and see the different details on different ones. I know some people are like, oh my god, another Primaris Lieutenant, whereas I'm kind of excited by every Primaris Lieutenant. So any flavor of a Space Marine generally gets me excited and makes me want to paint them, and this was absolutely no exception. It was just such a fun kit to build. There was some options for weapons and stuff like that. I chose a sword. I'm not a big fan of like maces or hammers. A good blade always will win out for me when it comes to the building side of it. I don't even look at the rules, honestly. I don't care which one is the best. I prefer which one looks better. I'm going to be kind of looking at it while I'm painting and looking at it in cabinets a lot more than I'll be playing games with it. So visual aesthetics will always win out for me. And visual aesthetics is something that I want to talk about a little bit before we go kind of much further with the talking about the painting of this particular miniature. Because I've come to the realization that the new Reavers, the Raiders that come with this box set, the new like bespoke unit for the Red Corsairs, I think changes everything. Because I think that they are by far the nicest Chaos Space Marine infantry set that we have. And they are not bad to paint. Chaos Space Marines are festooned with trim. We all know the jokes. The jokes are all over the internet, the memes, all the little jibe remarks, all of them. It takes hours to add the trim to every single model, and they are absolutely correct. I'm someone who has painted a World Eater's army, someone who's painted a Night Lord's army. The amount of trim that I've had to put myself through is not funny. It takes away the joy of painting a Chaos Space Marine army, I feel. Now, if we take these new Reavers, they're gorgeous. They have all the options that you could need, pretty much. Some of the special weapons are missing from the kit. These guys have the options for Meltas, which is the one I would mostly choose. And if you need some other special weapons, you might need to convert them. But every model can be built to have either a close combat weapon and a bolt pistol or a bolter. They've got, I'd say, at least 50-60% less trim on them. And they look so menacing with like the fur pelts and all of the like trinkets hanging off them. So I think a really cool thing moving forward that a lot of people will do, depending on one thing, is if you've, like, for instance, if I started a Chaos Space Marine army tomorrow and I needed 3 squads of 10 infantry, I would buy 30 of these guys. I don't care if I was doing, I don't know, Alpha Legion or whatever, I would buy these guys. And I would have a much better time putting these guys together and getting them painted up as if I was to buy 10 of the Chaos Space Marines. Like I said, there's one thing that might stop you. When I get these models early, I have no concept of price. I do not know whether 5 Reavers are going to be the same price as 10 Chaos Space Marines. If that's the case, then obviously this point is moot. No one is going to really spend twice as much. I don't know if they come in 5s or 10s. I'm hoping it's 10s, and I'm hoping it's for the same price as a box of Chaos Space Marines. To me, that would be absolutely fantastic and a really, I think, cool move forward for these guys. They seem to be removing some of the trim on some of the models these days to make it a little bit funner to paint. Even this Chaos Lord, basically, it only took me about an hour and a half to get all the base coats and washes on him. which I think is a lot faster than a normal Chaos Lord with all that trim. I wonder if anyone else has had the same thought. Anyone else out there waiting for these models to come out and be adding them into Emperor Children or whatever, and wanting to paint them up in different schemes, some Iron Warriors. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on this. If you guys are curious to see how that would work, and you want me to do some of these Reavers up as like different legions, or show the kit off in kind of more detail in another video, please do let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to take those sprues out. I might even do I was thinking about doing like a timer, like getting all the base coats on a normal Chaos Space Marine and then getting all the base coats on a Reaver with a stopwatch and finding out how much quicker it actually is to do. I think that'd be a really interesting thing to learn. And then you just multiply that gap between the two by the number of models in the army. And I reckon you're going to save a lot of hours in painting. Hours in painting, which I think would be kind of crazy. So as you can see with this guy, we stuck with fairly traditional painting methods. We got all of our base coats on with kind of contrast, some metallics. We shaded it all down with black. And now we are working up all of those armor panels and stuff with some brighter reds. So we went from Mephiston Red up into Evil Sun Scarlet. We're not going to go to the final one, which was Wild Rider. I don't want to push it into that orange tone. They're more crimson than kind of pallid orange. So I'm going to stop with this kind of mid-tone red, which I think will look great. And then with the black, we're not going to mess around too much with that. I'm going to go for a single layer of Corvus Black and apply this across all those armor panels as well. I had the thought at the stage of once all the red was layered up and once all the black was layered up, I was tempted to stipple on some chipping damage then. A little bit of sponging and some silver and kind of get these guys looking a little bit more bashed. And then obviously going in and layering up the leather belts and the fur and the cape and stuff, but I decided not to. Was that a good idea or not? I don't know. I do tend to like Marines being a little bit more damaged and a little bit more bashed up. I always use the kind of reference that in every book they talk about the small arms pattering off the power armor, doing no real damage, just chipping the paint. So I'd imagine a Space Marine's armor is nothing but chips and dents from small arms fire, and I like that represented across on the miniatures. So. And Reavers, obviously close quarters, lots of boarding actions. Yeah, I think a lot of breaching shotguns have been fired across their armor. Pretty much every boarding action, so yeah. But anyway, moving on. Obviously, they are still Chaos Space Marines. They are still quite kind of manical, so I decided to go for the cloth on this guy as flayed skin, as I did on the Reaver example that I did during the week. I think it's a really nice complementary color to the rest of the tone, having that like flayed cape and obviously the pelt running all the way down. I think it looks really cool. Very easy to do. Obviously we used Gulliman Flesh as the contrast. We shaded it down. And then Cadian Flesh tone, and then we threw a shade on, and Kislev Flesh for the highlight. And it gives you this really nice kind of pinky, worn looking flesh. It's awesome. That's just really cool. It's another thing I really like about the more barbaric look to the fur pelts and the capes. It kind of reminds me more of like a Chaos Warrior from Warhammer than it does from a Chaos Space Marine from 40k. Anything to distinguish them from, you know, normal Space Marines. Whereas I think before, the way they pushed away from normal Space Marines was to add a monumental amount of trim. So it's a little bit different this time. So okay, the shade has now dried, so now it's time to layer up that cape. So Kislev Flesh. Now we're going to be very sparing with the amount of Kislev Flesh that we do apply to this, because we don't want to go like super bright pale skin tone across all of the cape, because that will draw your attention away from the crimson armor and some of the other details on the model, which I think are kind of more relevant than the cape, but that's just me. I also did not get sent Huron Blackheart himself as a model, but I have him on order from an independent stockist, that's Underworld Gaming. So they've got that in the Maelstrom book for me. So I will be doing a whole host of videos on Huron Blackheart and all of his companions. If the videos do well, I'm more than happy to do all of the companions in separate videos. They're so unique, they're so different. I think they're all awesome, so I think it'll be really cool to see that. Morghast Bone was then brought in for his basically his big load of fur over his shoulder. We went Morghast, we went Ishapti Bone, and then we went Screaming Skull. up on those. And while we were doing that, we did those same kind of trio of paints, and we did the skulls on his kind of back bannery piece, and then the one hanging down from his waist. Talking once again about Huron and that squad, like, I think every one of them would have to pretty much be a unique video. You could use the video I'm doing now to paint Huron. There wouldn't be much difference. There wouldn't be much else that I would need to do. But obviously the Executioner, the so-called Apothecary, all the Xenos, Captain, they're all just so much different detail, where I think each and every one of them could do with their own section, their own video. So if I can carve out enough time to do that, I would love to do that. But obviously the hobby moves so fast that who knows what I'll be doing in a couple of weeks' time. But we shall try, because Huron is one of my favorite characters, especially for Chaos Space Marines. I think it's like Typhus and then Huron are my favorite too. He's just such a badass. I mean, a traitor, a renegade space marine, and within what, 1 century he's become nearly as powerful as Abaddon. It took Abaddon 10,000 years to get there. It's kind of insane. Imagine what Huron Blackheart would be like in 10,000 years, ruling the Imperium probably. Some lead belcher then, just to re-highlight all of those metallics, make them pop, both gold and silver highlighted with the same color. Just getting little touch highlights, sharp edges, nothing crazy, but it will make all those details pop. And then I had a bit of a fight with his eyes. I wasn't quite sure on the colors that I wanted to go for, whether I wanted to go for green or whether I wanted to go for red. In the end, I looked it up and they were a weird blue. I tried to do that. Did it work? I don't know. I might change them. But before that, we have our finished Reaver-Captain. I am quite pleased with how this guy looks. I think he's very striking. I'm more than happy to get the rest of that box set painted up and in my cabinet. And then perhaps I will ally it into one of my other Chaos Space Marine armies. Or maybe I'll push forward a few more units. It all depends on, I don't know how I'm feeling at the time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.